Starbucks coffee. Starbucks Coffee Company has become a common brand amongst coffee lovers everywhere. From its humble beginnings back in 1971, the first Starbucks was named Pike's Place and was located in Seattle, Washington. From then, they grew from 17 stores to over 1,400 in a little less than 15 years. Today, Starbucks boasts close to 27,000 stores located across 62 countries and continues to grow in size, revenue, and service capacity. Their brand has become synonymous with coffee, and it seems like everyone wants to grab their Starbucks in the morning.
No, seriously, everyone wants to grab coffee in the morning. It seems like anytime you try to grab Starbucks at the Union, you're faced with a line like this. So our team went out to solve this. Our highly qualified team wanted to better understand how the line at Starbucks forms, and if there's any way we could decrease the overall time that people are waiting in the line. We divided the labor and went to work. Paul's main focus was on media and graphics. Josie focused on modeling an accurate Sigma model for the project. Mia focused on everything data related. In order to accurately reference the operating hours of Starbucks, our team broke our data collection into 3 separate collection periods. The first collection period happened on a Monday morning from 10 a.m. to noon. The second was later in the day on a Wednesday from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. The last collection occurred on a Thursday evening from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. These different collection periods allowed us for a better insight into when and what days Starbucks is the most busy. We then could use that data to better model and implement our Sigma model. Next, our team had to plan out exactly how to collect data to use in our simulation. Every day we noted the number of baristas working as well as the amount of cashiers working at the register. For this example, there are 4 baristas and 2 cashiers. Then, we divided the overall Starbucks ordering system into 3 separate queues. The first queue, known as the order queue, tracks from when the customer enters the line to when the customer places their order. The order placement occurs at the registers, and shortly after, the customer will enter the second queue, known as the service queue. Once the customer picks up their coffee, they've officially left the service queue and have left the system. Let's watch one person go through the entire system. Now let's simulate a full busy period. Notice that both registers service customers. However, only one cashier can service a customer at a time. Also notice that baristas can only process one order at a time. Customers may also enter their order queue and then later bulk. For the purpose of this simulation, we assume that anyone standing in line would order a drink, and that each customer would only order one drink. Let's watch the rest of the simulation process. Below are the assumptions we made when collecting data. Any customer in line will place an order, so we can disregard any friends who entered the queue but did not order. In addition to this, any customer in the line only ordered for themselves and not a large group. We also assumed that staff were consistently productive and did not switch roles during this shift. Lastly, we assumed the customers bulked randomly, as we were unable to justify exactly why a customer may leave the queue. Here are the laws and policies of the system. For laws, the exponential distribution for arrival times has a mean of 0.533, and there is no lag time between queue, ordering, or back to queue. Most notable for policies is that Starbucks at the Union staffs either 6 or 7 staff, with a minimum of 1 cashier and a max of 2. Also, customers are first served by a cashier, and are served as a first-come, first-served basis. We calculated the inter-arrival time using a parametric probability model from observed data at Starbucks. By matching the data to exponential distributions, we found that, on average, arrivals occurred every 32 seconds, giving us a mean of 0.533. These graphs show a weighted average of the morning and afternoon busy periods to get our overall busy period interval distribution that we used in our model. The first event in the model, initial, starts the day simulation at empty and idle. It then triggers the first arrival in time TA, which is distributed exponentially with mean 0.533. The arrival event increments the ID of the customer arriving while also incrementing the queue for the line to order at the cashier. Here, we track the arrival time of each customer in the system. We also generate a new random variable, R, that determines whether the customer bulks or continues into the order queue. Arrival events always schedule another arrival event in time TA. A bulk event is scheduled only when R is less than 0.05. Meaning that about 5% of people bulk. Bulking here occurs with no time delay to ensure the bulking occurs when the customer is still at the end of the queue. The bulk event decrements the order queue, decrements the ID of the customers, and also increments the number of bulks. An order event occurs when a cashier server is open and the customer did not bulk. At order, the customer officially exits the order queue and a cashier server becomes busy. Then the next customer in line is set to order. Here, a random variable R is generated to determine the time it takes for the customer to finish ordering and is based off of data collected through observation. At the end order event, named EORD, the number of cashier servers opens increments by 1. The customer now enters the queue to receive their order and therefore, the service queue also increments by 1. Here, we also record the time at which the customer has waited to submit their order into service. The service order event is then triggered when there is a barista server open for service for the customer's order. This also triggers another order event to occur if there is someone in the order queue and there is a cashier server free. During the service order event, the number of open barista servers and the service queue are both decremented. The next customer to be serviced is incremented, and a random variable R is generated to determine the delay for the service time until order received. This R is also generated based off of observed data. During a receive order event, a customer's order has now finished and they leave the system. In the model, the number of free barista servers increments and the total time the customer was in the system is calculated. This also triggers another service order event if there is someone in the server's queue, as there are now a free barista. We then categorized and ran 4 different situations as listed below. Each scenario had a different way to add up to 6 or 7 employees, and key metrics were also generated to compare the scenarios. The average, standard deviation, and confidence interval were all calculated for the overall time that a customer spends in the system and compared accordingly to find the scenario that minimizes overall time spent in the queue. One of the most predominant sources of error in our model was the fact that all customers entering the queue were blind and entered the queue regardless of the size of the line. As stated in our assumptions, bulking was based on a random distribution and thus did not account for the size of the queue. In real life, potential customers would be discouraged by a certain length in the queue and would never enter the queue to begin with. After our analysis, our team proposes that Starbucks staff exactly 2 cashiers and 5 baristas during the busy period of 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. This ratio minimizes the amount of time that customers spend in the queuing process. But regardless, we know coffee drinkers will continue to brace the lines regardless of the staffing arrangement, because there's only one thing certain, that everybody wants their Starbucks.